The Echo Show 8 is the newest smart display from Amazon, and the question really is this the right one for your smart home? Hello Automators, thanks for tuning in again. I'm Brian from Automate Your Life, and today I'm going to take the frustration out of automation by giving you a full review of the Amazon Echo Show 8. But we're not just going to review this device in a bubble, and I think, on YouTube I see a lot of this go on, but we have to talk about where you will find value in this device specifically, and then where you might find value in other devices that are on the smart display market today. The Amazon Echo Show 8 actually has two 2-inch speakers coming out of the side and kind of to the front here with the device, and it has a passive radiator out the back. Now, there are a number of controls that we'll talk about on top of this device, but it also has a micro USB port in the back for charging certain devices if you'd like. Now, it is fully Bluetooth capable, and you can use that Bluetooth feature without Wi-Fi, which is actually a big deal versus some of the competitors from Google's side of things. Now, the other thing is it uses Wi-Fi to connect to the overall Amazon voice assistant service and then give you all of the different capabilities and features other than that Bluetooth that Amazon gives you. Now, it has a 1280 by 800 resolution screen, which is the same resolution as the Amazon Echo Show 2nd generation. So this is the 10.1 inch version, but with its 8 inch, and that's measured diagonally, form factor here, what you actually have is a really high pixels per inch on a good size display here. So that's 195 pixels per inch on the Amazon Echo Show 8. We're going to flip that on its head, and I'm going to talk about a ton of new products that work with Amazon's voice assistant, as well as a number of new features for you. Thanks for tuning in again. I'm Brian from Automate Your Life, and today I'm going to take the frustration out of automation by keeping you up to date with Amazon's voice assistant and their entire suite of smart home products. It's a hard thing to keep track. Now, of course, it's fully capable of answering all kinds of general inquiries, and it plays music and video from a number of different services. It also does voice and video calling, and that's one of the points of the little video camera that is on this device as well. And by no means am I going to give you an exhaustive list of its capabilities, because I could go on forever. But if you're looking for some specific capability, go ahead and leave that comment down below in the comment section here on YouTube, and I'll be happy to give you an answer there as best I can. What I do want to tell you about that is a little bit specific to this device and the Echo Show devices in general is the fact that it has two browsers on it. Now, that is the Silk from Amazon themselves and the Firefox browser, and both of those are fully capable browsers that you will find very powerful and very good to navigate, but by no means should you expect the same level of experience with those browsers as, say, a very powerful tablet in your smart home. It also, of course, has the full smart home control capability, and that's something that's very near and dear to our hearts here on Automate Your Life, but it doesn't have the Zigbee hub that the Echo Show 2nd generation has, the Echo Plus, and now the larger Echo Studio there. So, you don't have that Zigbee hub, but it's not a big deal, and we'll talk about that more in detail later. In terms of pricing, and this is probably the most important thing, this is a $230 US smart display, and this is a regular $130 US smart display. This comes in at $90, so you can see that you're only that $40 above, and we often see these go on sale now at $100 and on the big sale days at $80, and I've even seen it too for one here. So the pricing is really reasonable here, and I think it kind of pushes this one out just for enthusiasts, just for people who want that big screen, but it's close enough to this to kind of warrant upgrading. Instead of going and buying the 5, you end up at the 8. The speaker is very good, and it has a better bang for the buck versus the Echo Show 2nd generation over here. It's definitely much better bang for the buck than the Echo Show 5, and when you go and you compare it, the Google Nest Hub Max is $230 again, so it's kind of in this price range and you're $100 off of that mark for that device. Now, while that's a much better balanced speaker, you know, when you come down to a device that's closer to this, the Google Nest Hub, this is definitely a superior speaker to that device. So from an overall speaker perspective, while I find the overall range of Echo Show devices to be a little bit heavy on the low end of frequency and a little bit muffled sometimes, this is a very capable speaker, especially for the price point. If you do a very quick smart home control or smart home automation comparison to any of the other Echo Show devices, there's really just that tiny bit of difference. This doesn't have a Zigbee hub. This does not have a Zigbee hub either. This does. And what I'll tell you in general is that I would take the $100 differential between these two devices and go and spend that on a different smart hub like a Hubitat or a Samsung SmartThings hub. You're just going to get a lot more functionality for that Zigbee protocol, and you're just going to get a lot better automations overall. Amazon's just not there in terms of their overall automation capability. It's still a very good automation capability and is ahead of Google still, because you can trigger off of certain sensor types. So, you know, I have a video here very recently about Wise coming into Amazon's voice assistant and their sensors being able to trigger. So those are $6 sensors, and you can bring those in. That's through Wi-Fi essentially, and it allows you to trigger automation with just an Echo Show 8 in your home. Its display is bright and vivid, and I think when I compare these three devices, this is the right size for most locations in your smart home, and it also just has the best pixels per inch of the three, or it's very close to this, and this is so small you're not going to be able to see much, but this is the right size and the right brightness and the right display. Now, it's not dethroning the Google Nest Hub Max, and I even in a lot of cases like the Google Nest Hub better than any of Amazon's displays, and that's a bit of the reflectivity of all of these displays. They are very shiny, very reflective, and so you actually have to think about where your lighting is in your smart home, or else it can be very difficult to actually see parts of the screen. And the other part of that is the interface, and I think this is really becoming a problem for Amazon's smart displays. The interface has really let me down and continues to be not nearly as good as what Google has produced, and Google still has lots of work and people are frustrated, but in general, I will say this is not as responsive as any of the Google smart displays I have in my home. I have a ton of different ones that I've used, and I have 3 in my home currently employed. And just the reactivity or the quickness of reaction is much slower on any of Amazon's devices. and I just don't like the interface half as much, especially for controlling my smart home, bringing up cameras, those kinds of things. It's just more clicks, it's more things to look at, and it's a little tougher to navigate and actually control things in a really intuitive way. The video calling on the Echo Show 8 I think is a major gap. Now, one of the things I do like about the camera is this physical closure, and I think that is absolutely critical for any of the smart displays in my home. We have unproven privacy, not only just from a policy standpoint, but even outside of policies. People are just not sure about these devices, so it is really great to have this physical switch. But what happened here is they took the 1 megapixel camera that went into this and put it in the Echo Show 8 instead of the 5 megapixel coming from this device and coming into here. Now, I imagine there would have been a small price increase on something like that, and I get that Amazon wanted to hit a mark with their pricing, which is great. I applaud them for that, but this is still a major indicator to me that they're not moving further ahead with their photo and video calling service here. Those two services clearly won't be changing anytime soon, won't be getting better. And when you compare it to the situation on a Nest Hub Max with a Nest camera on it and how different that experience is when the camera moves around the room for you, there's a big difference. And unfortunately, it really disappoints me that Amazon didn't move that forward. The processor here really hasn't gotten an upgrade, and this is not going to move the Echo Show 8 forward from any of these devices. They really haven't changed the processing power, so it's the same thing here, and it has limited, I think, the visual interface and will limit it going forward. So from an overall perspective, the Amazon Echo Show 8 to me is still the best smart display here. Out of the three, it's the best bang for the buck, and it is the best overall device. But what I'm really kind of telling you guys is that they haven't been really pushing the envelope here, and none of these devices are any longer in the tooth than the other ones. Like, they're not going to last any longer than the other. So an Echo Show 8 that you buy today won't be any different, I think, in terms of a lifespan than the Echo Show 2nd generation, and that's because of the choices they've made with the hardware, and their software needs a pretty significant revamp in my estimation. And some other YouTubers like Craig's Tech Talk really talked about this in his review of the Echo Show 8. He did a great review of it, and I think he was bang on when he said they really need an interface update, and I'm not sure how much of that interface update they can do with the hardware on these devices. So again, still the best one, still the one I'm going to recommend to you, but you need to look at that 1 to 2 year lifespan and maybe some other devices. And on that note, I have a ton of reviews up on screen right now. This is a playlist just for smart displays that we have between Google and Amazon and any other makers that we've had on the channel here. So go ahead, watch those. You'll learn a lot and you'll make the right choice for your smart home going forward. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and of course, don't hate, automate.